come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. This is your host, Siddhartha Vaidyanathan, and I'm thrilled to welcome a very special guest on the show today, someone whom R. Ashwin has termed an absolute encyclopedia when it comes to technical adjustments and knowledge about bowling. The former India and Tamil Nadu all-rounder and until recently India's bowling coach, Bharat Arun. Thank you so much for joining us, Arun. It's a real pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for the intro. It's a pleasure to be interacting with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. As many of you would be aware, Arun has been a terrific guiding force for India's bowlers over close to a decade or more. He has overseen the rise of far and away India's best bowling attack, and he's one of the rare bowling coaches who has played a pivotal role in raising the games of both the fast bowlers as well as spinners. So also for younger listeners and people who are not aware, Arun was also a terrific all-rounder for Tamil Nadu in the 1980s, and he briefly played Test cricket and one-day cricket for India too. He played a big part in Tamil Nadu winning the Ranji Trophy, as well as South Zone winning the Dilip Trophy. So Arun, having said that with that introduction, this is a good chance to actually go back a bit in time and tell us a bit about your own sort of taking to bowling, medium pace. What was it that drew you to that? Was it, some people say it's the feel of the ball. Some people say it's that, the action and the rhythm and the run up. What was it that drew you to bowling quick?
Well, when I grew up as a youngster, we have four brothers, and all of us used to play the sport, of course, naturally with all our friends. And fast bowling came pretty naturally to me. I used to compete with my older brother. My older brother used to be a good fast bowler. Then I wanted to be quicker than him. And so there was always a competition between him and me. So that really took up to fast bowling, actually playing street cricket, and also in the open fields, wherever there are open fields, all the kids used to play cricket. And that's how I was inducted into the game. And most kids were crazy about cricket. All you needed was a makeshift bat and a rubber ball, and you had lots of open ground. So there was never a problem of trying to find a place to play the sport. So all these factors put together, I think, created that interest in us to grow as cricketers.
So when you were bowling quick back in your career, can you pick out like the hardest part that you found? Of course, there are multiple things. Fast bowling is probably the most unnatural thing for a human being to do, especially as a sport. But can you pick out one part of fast bowling, quick bowling, that you found was extremely hard to master?
Well, I would say there are a lot of things. You growing up as a kid, the first time I saw the West Indians come to India in 1974, 75 season, and there was so much hype created by Andy Roberts. I can tell you that he was also one of my idols. And you wanted to emulate a great bowler like Andy Roberts. You wanted to bowl quick. So you try everything that you have to do that. And people come and tell you all kinds of things as to what you need to do as a fast bowler. So you would want to lap up to everything that your senior cricketers tell you, and you want to try out. You want to leave no stone unturned in trying to find out whatever it is to make you that, right from the diet you eat, right from the kind of running you do, right from the training that you do. So you're told so many. Also, a lot of myths are passed down. So we did some things right, and some things were totally, not what a fast bowler should be doing. So I think it's been a wonderful journey that way, and I can say that this is something that got the coach in me out. Once I started giving up, once I gave up the game because of my injuries, I gave up pretty early. So at 30, I said I couldn't progress because of my knees. And so there was a very strong desire in me to excel in the sport. And coaching was one option at that point of time.
So you did mention, you did quite a few things right, you did quite a few things wrong. Do you think that the things you did wrong was largely because of the lack of know-how around fast bowling, or was it just, was there other reasons for it? What do you think was the main reason? I mean,
Yes,
people talk about
lack of knowledge.
Yeah,
lack of knowledge.
Hmm.
Fast bowling is an explosive activity, and any activity in cricket is explosive. But all that I have trained is like a marathon runner, running long distance running, and you had a lot of myths when we're growing up. Never go to the gym because your muscles get tighter. So once it gets tight, then you cannot bowl fast. And so you totally believed in all these things. So because you had no quality information available for you to grow as a fast bowler, so you took up everything that a senior cricketer told you. And later on, you find out that all that you did was that your entire training methods, okay, some of it might have helped, but was not what a fast bowler should be doing.
Also, there have been quite a few cricketers who have spoken about their careers from the 80s and 90s, around the time 80s when you played, and then even 90s, when they have said that a bulk of what they learnt about fast bowling was when they started playing international cricket. I mean, there have even been bowlers who have said we didn't even know what was like basic things like, in swing, out swing, and things like that, and how to master it till we reached the very top. And until then, it seemed it was a lot of trial and error. Did you feel that too, that you had to go through a lot of trial and error before you actually got the hang of it?
Yes, of course, because we had no source of information. So you have to figure things out for yourself. You ask a few coaches. See, because I think even top brand players, they can perform the skill, but they can't teach a skill. Like if somebody, some great cricketer who bowls an in-swinger, you give him a ball, he would be bowling in-swing. But and many a times after studying coaching, you realize what you think that you're doing and what you're actually doing are two different things. So a bowler who can perform one particular skill, this would be the same. What he thinks that he's doing and to actually what he's doing. So he would tell you something which would be impossible for you to carry on. So that led a very, very strong desire in me to learn more about coaching, because even when I started coaching initial stages of my life, you find out that when bowlers ask you questions, you're stuck for answers. You know that what you're saying, you're not convinced about what you're saying. So I said, let me learn more about coaching. And I strongly believe that your experience as a player can help you to be a better coach, but does not qualify you to be one.
Very interesting. So do you think that a bowler can be successful even without being able to explain what he's doing? Is it just like with the natural ability he can sort of move through international cricket?
Yeah, they can. And there's so many, most of them have done it. Most of them have performed. And I would say the greats, they do understand, of course. Once they keep playing, then they experiment, they learn for themselves, but it is very, very unique to them, to their learning. So I think to understand the concepts as a whole, there is a lot of science involved. And if you can understand science, it's like this. If you look at 20 different people, if you look at their handwriting, they all can be very good, but their style of writing is totally different. Similarly, if you look at the 20 best fast bowlers in the world, across the world, you would find they've been all very, very successful, but their styles of performing, their actions are they're not even similar. So it is about understanding science. The basics of the sport is the same, but understanding different styles is extremely important. Similarly, if just because my handwriting is good, I can't expect you to write like me. You got to use your own style of writing to get better. You can practice using your own style. Definitely you can get better, but you cannot try and ape somebody else's style. Its skill is also very similar to that.
So as a coach, that must be such a challenge for you, right? Because if a bowler is doing reasonably well, and then you are watching and you think that maybe making a small change can alter things, but it's such a fine difference that you will have to calibrate your advice very carefully when you're talking to them, right?
It's about, see, once you gain knowledge. I did my level 2, then I had a distinction when I did my level 3. And actually, my thesis on level 3 was about spin bowling. I feel though people classify you as a fast bowling coach, I'm a much better spin bowling coach than a fast bowling coach. Because that's something which is very, very passionate for me. So, yes, learning the science, once you realize that learning the science, I was also very, very fortunate to have been the head of the National Cricket Academy for bowling, where I went through a lot of bowlers, young bowlers. I've seen so many thousands of videos. It was a great learning for me. Every time I enter the field, there's something in it for me to learn. And so that was a great eye-opener. My stint at the NCA fine-tuned my coaching abilities, coaching skills. And also I was lucky enough to be coaching technically and also tactically. When I took up the India A teams, the India under-19 teams, I was the head coach. So I had grooming in the technical and the tactical aspects of coaching.
Yeah, so now that you bring up the National Cricket Academy, I mean, you have mentioned, of course, in interviews in the past about the fact that in 2013 you saw Jasprit Bumrah, and it was very interesting how the sort of the impression that you had was from the action was about the fitness levels and how he had to really build up his fitness levels if he had to continue bowling that same action. It strikes me that any other coach could have easily just told him to change his action or make a modification to his action, but you went the other way. You said you continue, but you have to make another change with your fitness.
See, recommending changes to bowlers, I believe in making small adjustments. Like I said, the handwriting, I can make you write better by everyday writing in a book and adhering to the basics of how you write the words. Similarly, skill is also something very similar to that. People have unique actions. Bumrah was one of them. Being honest, I initially thought it did warrant a change, but then I found that was very, very difficult for him to undergo, and also it was compromising on his pace. So when somebody is able to bowl really fast with a unique action, why not we just stick to that? But I had a good discussion with the strength and conditioning coach and the physiotherapist at the National Cricket Academy. And we came to a conclusion that this action would place him under tremendous amount of physical stress. So we said, all the more reason for us to monitor his workload and also make him extremely strong physically. So both these, and fast bowling too is an activity where physical fitness and the skill complement each other. So there's 50-50. You overdo one, it will probably affect the other. So you got to have a perfect match between the workloads, the physical fitness programs, and your work on the skill.
Oh, wonderful. Because as a counterpoint, I just wanted to mention also that you, of course, with regard to Ashwin, when it came to 2014, 2015, there was a change that you advised him to make in terms of the load up and in terms of the way the arm was delivering. And I think that had a very clear biomechanical reason to it with regard to where the ball was going. So that is the difference, right, between like what you saw with Bumrah and advised and what you saw with Ashwin and advised.
See, as I mentioned earlier, each bowler is different, and understanding a bowler style before beginning to coach him is extremely important for a coach. So once you understand science, biomechanics, we are not biomechanics, but I think to be an effective coach, you need to understand the underlying principles of biomechanics. It's nothing but the internal and the external forces acting on a human body, and how it would affect someone if they are not very close to the basics. The basics of the sport is the same, but each one's skill, if you can blend each one's style as close to the basics as possible, then they can be more efficient. So my job is to first understand a bowler's style and bring that as close to the basics as possible without compromising on his ability to do either a spinner or a fast bowler, without compromising on the output. I need to make those small, I wouldn't call it changes, I would say adjustments.
So when you say you need to understand the bowler, so I'm imagining this is a combination of observation as well as studying the video analysis as well as data analysis. It is a blend of things that you're trying to figure out before you are giving them any advice, right?
Absolutely. And I think a spinner's journey is about discovering himself. Each one is blessed with a talent. Each one is blessed with the ability. My job as a coach is to empower them, by giving them the feedback when they are ready. I don't much discuss the technique, but I think I discuss things that would help them understand their bowling. My job predominantly, as I said earlier, what a bowler thinks that he's doing and what he's actually doing are two different things. As long as you bridge the gap, then the bowler is empowered and he knows exactly what he's doing, so that he could make those necessary changes that you want.
So, and the reason why a bowler is not able to get that is because through years of playing and acclimatization, it has become so natural to him, right? Like I'm imagining a bowler who runs at a pace to the wicket. I think Mohammad Shami maybe was an example you had given. To change that requires a bit of a switch to go on, right? Is that am I fair in saying that?
There is one thing I realized over the years is that there are only two things a bowler can change. It is either how he runs in, which I can say the angle at which he runs in, and how he loads. When you understand science, you know that if these two things if you can bring in necessary adjustments in these two things, then it has an overall effect on the entire bowling. So I think when you want to make slight adjustments on either the run-up or the way a bowler loads for him to be more efficient, these are things which a bowler has control over, and it is easy to make these kind of changes at whatever stage a bowler is in.
So changing like the pace at which one runs to the wicket is manageable over time. It's not something that some bowlers struggle with.
As I said, I think the feedback that a coach gives in is extremely important, and it's about trial and error. It doesn't come easy. It's about trial and error. You try out different things. That's why I said the spinner, especially spinner's journey is about discovering himself. How does one discover himself? When he has more knowledge, when he's empowered, then he knows what exactly he's doing. Then he tries out different things. Certain things work out, certain things don't. But for example, if you look at Ashwin, he's forever willing to come out of his comfort zone to learn. So it is extremely important that if you want to get better, if you want to evolve as a bowler, it's time and again, you need to come out of your comfort zone, try and learn new things in the art of bowling. Very subtle changes. It's not big changes. It's not changes, subtle adjustments which you make would really, really enhance your skill.
Wonderful. So just going back a bit more, I mean, we have also seen over the years, 80s, 90s, 2000s, that bowlers came along and they were very good early on in their careers. They were quick. But there have been number of cases as they went along, the pace dropped or the consistency dropped. Of course, fitness is a natural thing to attribute that to. But you have also mentioned discipline as another factor that comes into play. So fitness, I think I can intuitively understand how you improve, though a fast bowler's fitness is totally different from a normal human being's fitness. But talk us a bit about discipline and how does one develop that? Where does that come from? And even what does it mean, like for a lay person like me?
I think more than discipline, I would say it is about the inputs that a bowler receives, about not only his physical, his technical inputs for his bowling, also about managing workloads. As you rightly said, the bowlers who started, if you Irfan Pathan, Mohammad Patel, Zahir Khan, Ashish Nehra, all started bowling 140s and gradually their pace came down as they progressed. It was also for lack of the right kind of training and their workloads weren't managed. There are a certain number of overs a fast bowler needs, either over bowling or under bowling. Both are bad. So an optimal bowling stint is extremely important. It's like sharpening the axe. Each time you cut a tree, you sharpen the axe. Similarly, bowling practice in the net is also extremely vital for a bowler to stay absolutely in the prime of his fitness to be able to execute very well in the matches. It is about your workloads in the matches cannot be controlled because it is according to the matches. But considering the workloads in a match, you can definitely control the kind of work that they put in the net and their strength and conditioning. So all these factors are extremely important. Rest, exercise, recovery, diet, and the right kind of bowling in the net. So I would say to have all these 5 elements, you need the discipline to be able to allocate the right kind of time, the right kind of, the diet to have. You cannot... Bumrah he loves this fast food and milkshakes and anything that's not very healthy for a top class athlete was his love. But he had to give up everything and eat right. Consult a nutritionist, have the right amount of protein with the carb, with whatever a fast bowler needs to stay in the best of shape. So to be able to do that over a period of time, it's okay, you do it for a week, 10 days, a month, it's okay. But then to be able to do that throughout your playing career, I think that calls for a lot of hard work and discipline. So discipline, I mean in eating right, in working right, in resting right, you do avoiding late nights, going to bed at the right time, because sleeping well is the best recovery that one can ever have. So making sure that everything falls into place is discipline to me.
Wonderful. Tell us a bit about this over bowling, under bowling bit. Is that something that a bowler needs to figure out for himself, or what are the inputs that you are offering as a coach for a bowler to figure that optimal amount out?
So I would say about 20 to 25 overs in a week is pretty good. So spread it over 3 sessions or 2 sessions, whatever thing. But this is just a guideline. It's not that you got to really, really stick to that. Then it's about the bowler's feel. Sometimes you bowl more, or sometimes you feel you're bowled enough. And this is what, I find is enough. But if you can generally stick to these guidelines, along with strength and conditioning and rest, that would be ideal.
And when you mean
probably for younger bowlers, I'm talking of real good professionals, but for younger bowlers who are coming up, also you can probably bring it down to strictly about 20 overs or 18 overs or something like that if they are 15, 16, because over bowling is one of the biggest threats to young fast bowlers who break down with stress fractures. So it's important that their workloads are really, really monitored.
And when you mean these overs, 20, 25 overs, they're talking about imagining as if you're in a match and bowling all out, or are you imagining a little more steady
I would
bowling?
say this it's nothing steady, because if you practice to be steady, you will only be steady in a game. You would practice as though you would be bowling in a match.
Okay.
So it will probably work out to around, if you're having 3 sessions, about 40 to 45 balls in every session. I'm not counting the warm-up balls and your warm-up time. It's bowling pure 40 to 45 balls in every session.
Wonderful. I mean, when you're talking about, when I was saying bowling all out, it just strikes me that, and I can ask you also how, among all the bowlers that we have, it just seems that, if I take Mohammad Siraj as an example, it just seems almost like he's like the Rafael Nadal of fast bowlers. Every ball he is running in with such absolute, conviction. And it's like every ball he's bowling his last ball. That's how much he's putting in. And it's so amazing to see that level of, all-out bowling. Is that something I'm reading wrong, or is it correct?
No, absolutely right. He's probably one of the most enthusiastic bowlers you can come around. And he looks very, very energetic, and he's a very nippy bowler too. But then, yes, your observation is absolutely right in Siraj. Also, like I said, his bowling workloads have to be. He was lucky enough, but when I was the coach of Hyderabad, he understood the importance of because he used to bowl a hell of a lot earlier. It doesn't affect you when you're beginning your career, but as you're going on, you find that without rest, when you're bowling, the questions that you ask me, why does the pace come down? It's due to lack of the monitoring the workloads. The pace would definitely drop, and the bowler won't even realize that.
But you also mentioned, interestingly, that Siraj is one kind of bowler who is so good at following instructions, and if he's given a certain line and a length, he's able to do it. So how does the two come together? Because it seems like he's going all out, but still he's able to get that control. That must be one of the hardest skills to have as a bowler, right?
It is. He's naturally blessed with it, and I think our coach working with a bowler is about a relationship. And that relationship is purely built on trust, absolute trust. It takes a while for you to build a relationship with bowlers. But once having built that relationship, the bowler makes sure that he has total faith in your abilities. Because also, I think as a coach, it is important that you bring something to the table for every bowler. Once you bring something to the table, then how do you build trust with a player? One says, being as a person, you need to be a genuine person first. And then secondly, if you're bringing something to the table, which any bowler feels that my skills are improving, then instantaneously you build a rapport with them.
Wonderful. So in terms of this planning thing, I mean, if you can just give me and my listeners a general idea of how this happens, because I mean, I think I vaguely understand that, there are a lot of basic plans that are made and the bowlers have a certain way in which they have some plans, but how much of it happens on the fly in the middle, and how much of it is already, practiced and sort of understood?
As I said, it's about empowerment. And a bowler, first of all, a bowler needs to understand himself. What are my strengths? What are the things that I should go back to? Because there are situations in a game where you are under absolute pressure. So my advice to all young bowlers or any bowler at that point is, when you are under pressure, go back to your strengths, things that you can execute at will at any given point of time. So first of all is, understanding those strengths. And secondly, for you to be a very successful bowler, there is enough data available on all the batsmen, at least international cricket and domestic championship. There is enough data available. So your interpretation of the data to understand the strengths of a batsman and also the areas that you can exploit as a bowler is very, very important. You spoke of discipline earlier. So I think a bowler needs discipline in his bowling to be consistent, to be able to exploit the shortcomings of any batsman. So once you understand this, and also it's about feel. Once a bowler is bowling, there is certain instinctive feel that he gets it, and he backs his instinct. And as a coach, I think it's extremely important to help your bowler or make him understand that when instinctively he feels something, he needs to back that instinct and try out.
And you would always trust that bowler's instinct.
Of course, you need to trust the instinct. And also, it's a great lesson for a bowler through that instinct, whether my thinking is right or my thinking is not up to the mark. See, because sometimes they don't bowl badly. The choice of balls are not right. See, we say cricket is 90% mental, right? For the 10% physical part, how much do we work? We bowl 1 hour in the net, we bat for about 45 minutes, we do fielding for half an hour, then we go to the gym, we go to the pool. There are so many, at least 4 hours of work in a day you put on the 10% physical part. How much work do you put on the 90% mental part? You don't need 4 hours, but you need at least half an hour work on how do I get better? How does my thought process change? How does my thought process get better? What should I be thinking under pressure? And when I'm under pressure, every bowler will go through pressure. When I'm under pressure, how do I overcome that? So these are the things that you need to figure out, you need to work out, you need to discuss, and you need to practice.
Yeah, so one point that you spoke about is the data aspect of it, and how bowlers today have data on all the leading batsmen and all the major batsmen. How much of an effect has that brought in their improvement as bowlers? And do you think that earlier generations, even 10 years earlier, could have become that much better with this amount of data available?
See, sport is any sport. If you look at the best laid plans can go haywire. It's about a player's form on that particular day. But overall, if I understand and I'm able to exploit the weaknesses of either a bowler or a batter, once I understand that, again, at higher levels, it is about how consistently you are able to exploit that kind of information that you have. So I would say that, yes, awareness is a very important aspect. Awareness is the key. Not only awareness of the opponents, awareness of your own strengths, awareness of the conditions, awareness of the situation of the match. All these things add up. It's not just one or two things. It's not just about planning. It's about the conditions. It's about, like I mentioned earlier, all the things that constitute awareness of a player. Now, how do I digest this information to come out with the right plan? That is the biggest challenge for any sport.
Absolutely. So to put it a little more bluntly, had we not had access to this data, would the quality of the bowling be largely similar?
Could be, because I would say that they would be bowling in areas of strength of a batsman if you're not. Also, there are certain situations when a bowler is able to read a batsman. The perception skills is something that we need to consider. A batter also trying to read what a bowler is bowling, because he's trained eye watching the bowler on video when you're playing opponents. He's looking at his body language, gives you a lot of information as cricketers. So also it is about not only the inputs that you get from the coaches, from all that is happening around you, but it's also your own ability of reading a batter or a batsman reading a bowler. All these things contribute to how successful a player that you are.
Wonderful, wonderful. The other point I wanted to bring out, just to wrap up the conversation about the previous generations of bowlers who had to learn a lot of their skills at the highest level, is that now we are seeing a crop of bowlers coming in who seem to be so test ready even when they come in. I mean, Siraj, of course, is a classic example, but there have been other bowlers also who seem to know so much about their games the moment they are even making their debut. What would you attribute that to?
I think all these kids, it's the game, they call the game method of learning. They are watching the best in action on television. And when they are watching the best bowlers in action, they are seeing what they are doing. Sometimes the commentators also explain, and you see images on television as to what the player is doing. So I think that is the best teacher for any young fast bowler learning at age. So they go out and try out those very things today. And if they can get hold of a coach who also gives them the right kind of inputs to hasten the process, that will be outstanding. And that exactly is what is happening now. You see a lot of young fast bowlers or batsmen coming up with exceptional talent. It's because they learn by watching. They watch the best in the world. Wonderful. We did not have that. When we grew up, we only saw the league players, and then we watched the Ranji Trophy players and so on. How many matches do you get to watch? Also, the kind of analysis that happens when they watch players at close quarters, that's something which is extraordinary kind of information the players have today, young players.
Yeah, I think many of them even on YouTube, they are freezing frames and they are learning things from those minute movements and things. So they have access to so much of video and their own intuition that they can pick up from. What I wanted to come to swing bowling actually. I mean, can you talk a bit about why we don't see that many classic swing bowlers, these days? Is it one of the most difficult arts as a fast bowler? And there seems to be a lot of bowlers who are very good with, who are quick and who have good seam, but pure swing bowling seems to be on the wane, or am I wrong?
Oh, you look about if you look at all the bowlers around the world, they move the ball at a great pace. Earlier, there was a myth that if you are a swing bowler, you need to be slow. But look at bowlers who are bowling 140 plus to swing the ball. Bumrah is one of the best exponents of swing and seam. Look at Mohammad Shami. Look at the seam position that he has. Mohammad Siraj, they all bowl 135, 140. And then they are able to seam and swing the ball. So swing bowling is about how well you release the ball and how much time you give the ball, the optimal time you give the ball in the air so that the ball swings. Or if there is help from the wicket, you're also seaming the ball. So the position of the seam is extremely important. And for the position of the seam to be really good, your release has to be excellent. So if you have this, it's you don't need to compromise pace. You can swing the ball at any speed.
No, the reason I also asked is because Bhuvaneshwar Kumar is an example that was in my head. And when he started off, he was a swing bowler, but then at some point of time, he also added some pace and then became quite a lethal bowler, actually. I mean, there was a phase in which he was perhaps
he added pace. He added pace without compromising on swing. So even if you're bowling late 120s and ability to move the ball, it's still tough in Test cricket. You see international cricketers struggle when the ball swings. So if you're going to be 135 plus and you swing the ball, it's probably one of the toughest faces a batsman is going to face. And you as a bowler, if you have that ability, you're going to be really, really successful.
So, but do you feel like that adding that pace, resulted in, him having the injury, or the injury was totally unrelated to the fact of this bull adding the pace?
I don't think so, because I thought he worked exceptionally hard on his physical, strength and his on his strength work, and that led to the increase of pace. The pace did not increase because of any exceptional skill work. The skill was there. So in order to get that skill work going, we needed to work on his running. Then he did a lot of work on his, strength and conditioning. So all these factors have, led him to increase his pace.
Okay, so one of the other questions I had in this matter is when India went to New Zealand in 2020, I had a wonderful time with the ball. It was definitely a closer series than the scoreline suggested. But there were a few comments that said that the Indian bowlers perhaps bowled too quickly in those conditions to exploit the swing. Is that something you agree with, or is it just a myth again, as you said?
See, again, if you look at our bowling was pretty good in New Zealand. It was a closely fought contest, but our batting is something that did not click as we wanted to. If you look at all the other overseas victories, our batting clicked, and there were scores of under 200. In fact, even in Christchurch, we got the lead. We got a slender lead, and then we failed to bat well. We were all out for 135. So you really don't expect that. And both the test matches, the conditions were, the wickets were really, really green. And in New Zealand, it tends to settle down because they use the heavy roller as they go on. And both the test matches, we lost the toss. So they exploited the conditions when it was absolutely fresh. Had we even won the toss, the conditions would have been a lot different. So you can attribute a lot of it to that, but I thought overall our bowlers performed really well in New Zealand. And if you look at the kind of swing that Mohammad Shami and Bumrah got in those conditions, it was really, really commendable, and they were playing in the New Zealand home conditions. I think in South Africa, if you look at the test in Cape Town, it's the best chance for us to beat them. The wicket was pretty good, and the second innings we got them out for 130 odd, and we had to get 200 runs to win. And we were well set on we could have cruised to victory. 200 runs on that track was not much, but again, our batting faltered. But if you look at the next test in Johannesburg, I think we batted very well. The margin was even the first innings lead, they had got about 350. We were 320. Second innings, again, there was a collapse. And when we played the third test match, the wicket was a dicey one. It was green and it was soft. And we had a lot of criticism when we played 5 fast bowlers in that match. And we won the toss and we batted, because we knew that the dents on the wicket is going to be tough in the last innings. But that was the test match that gave the entire team the confidence, saying that we could win under all conditions. And that was the beginning of us dominating, world cricket outside the country.
Glad you brought up the 2018 series, because as you said, the Johannesburg victory, which was of course Bumrah's debut series, the Johannesburg victory seems to have been something that really galvanized that team with 5 fast bowlers and the ability to defend such a low total. And so can you if when you're going in with all pace attack, can you talk a bit about, the sort of the how each bowler actually benefits from it? Or is it also a bit of a disadvantage because you have nobody to sort of give you that leeway? As in Perth, it happened once in Perth when India also went in with an all pace attack and perhaps could have had a spinner. Having a spinner might have made a difference there.
Well, no, I think it was the first time in Johannesburg when India had an all-pace attack. There was absolutely no spinners in it, and then we went on to win that test match. So in Perth, we felt that Jadeja was not, Ashwin was not fit, and Jadeja was just recovering from injury. So we thought instead of putting in a bowler who's not fully fit, it's not fair on him or not fair on the team. So we decided to go in with full. There were 4 fast bowlers playing along with Vihari, who could bowl off spin. And Vihari, I think, in all fairness, he did a pretty good job because he got the first 2 wickets on the first day. And that was also one test match where the Indian team can be really, really proud of, when the Shami spell in the second innings, where literally the Australians were on the back foot, and you could feel the Indian fast bowlers intimidating the Australians in their home soil. I think that was a great sight for all of us.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting because now that you talk about it, I'm remembering that spell, because eventually in matches that the final innings becomes something that you remember. But yes, so when you see a bowler like Shami bowling like that in Perth with that kind of thing, what does it do to the team, and what does it do for the confidence of the other bowlers? It must really be adding to that, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a huge fillip when you know that one of your bowler is intimidating. It inspires the other bowlers to follow suit. And that's exactly what they did. And even though we lost that test match, the way we came back in Melbourne was really, really, that's what you expect as a coach. And having won that test match and leading the series, had we gone the full distance in the Sydney test match, we would have easily won that test match too, because they had to get about 500 runs with 1.5 days, and the wicket was deteriorating. But unfortunately, rain curtailed play.
Yes, and I think Kuldeep was having a fantastic spell. So yeah, a big chance of victory in that match. Two other one big series that I want to touch upon, which is not as often spoken about, is the 2019 in West Indies. I mean, the manner in which Bumrah was bowling in that series, and not just Bumrah, even the other bowlers. But of course, with the spells, the way Bumrah was bowling, it was almost like he was swinging the ball exactly the way he wanted, both ways. I mean, that must have been, it was quite magical for us. And how was it for you watching that?
The biggest compliment we got as a team was from one of the greats of the world, Sir Vivian Richards. He was watching the test match, and after the test match, had the opportunity of interacting with him. And he told us that this by far and is one of the best bowling units I've seen in a long time. I never expected that Indian bowlers would be so intimidating, and it's a great sight, and I'm so happy for you. So that sums it up. A compliment from Viv Richards on the Indian fast bowling overseas is something. I think it's a totally different feeling altogether.
Absolutely, and one of the things that was happening in that series is that the ball, the way again specifically taking Bumrah, because of some of the balls that he was bowling was so magical. They were starting from way outside off and then coming in at some really parabolic banana angle, or he was starting it from leg and they were going and hitting off. It was like seeing perhaps a Wasim Akram or a bowler of such great caliber, and to do it just spell after spell.
I think Bumrah was simply outstanding in that series, and so was Shami. Mohammad Shami was really good. He created that pressure, and the Bumrah, the ability to move the ball both ways at that pace, and the kind of spells that he bowled was really very pleasing and a very contended sight as an Indian, and more so as an Indian coach. I think that was something splendid, extraordinary bowling in the West Indies.
And when Bumrah's action, right, it's naturally like you as a batter, you're naturally expecting the ball to come in. And when he's getting that prodigious swing away from you, I mean, is there even a chance? I mean, you're just like a sitting duck, right, at some point.
Bumrah worked very hard on his outswingers too, because with that action, it's more you feel the ball is going to come into you, but then he worked really hard on his wrist positions to be able to swing the ball out. And that created a huge doubt in the minds of batters. And also, batters were not able to read him. And they did not have the time that they would be playing a Mohammad Shami or any other fast bowlers, because that split second decision later to read him made him that much more potent.
So did the Duke's ball make a difference too in West Indies?
I think all bowlers love to bowl with the Duke's ball. That's probably the number one ball a fast bowler or a spinner would love to bowl with. Because there's a really protruded seam, and the ball feels very good with all the bowlers. You can move the ball. Spinners find it that they grip the ball very well. So I think it's probably one of the number one ball where bowlers look forward to bowling with.
Wonderful. And just one more match that I have to touch upon is the Lord's Test on the tour to England, where on the final sort of when India had a short time to bowl England out, and it was a little over 50 overs, it was a wrap. I mean, that intensity of fast bowling on that day was a sight to behold. How was it like for you?
Well, we knew that we were honestly looking for a score of 220, 230. If we can get to it, we'll be lucky, and then we can wrap them up. But the batters, the bowlers actually, who batted tremendously well, Mohammad Shami, Bumrah, and all these guys batted so well for us to get that kind of a score. And that in itself was an inspiration. They were really pumped up because they had batted well, and that confidence rubbed down to their bowling. And they knew that they had to bowl 60 overs. And so they could afford to go all out each and every ball. And that's exactly what they did. And the rest is history.
Wonderful. Just a couple of things to wrap up. So India, as I said, is has the best attack that they have had in their history, and perhaps Sir Viv Richards himself has said one of the best attacks in the world game. Do you see this continuing over a period of time? Do you see things plateauing after a bit, there being a cyclic break and then things coming back? How do you look at the next generation that is coming through?
I think it's extremely healthy. If anything is going to, if you have a yardstick to measure that, I think the IPL is one. You have Umran Malik, you have Mohsin Khan, you have so many other left-arm fast bowlers coming up who are all 140 plus. That augurs very, very well for India. And I think it is extremely healthy, and I don't see any reason why it should go down. In fact, we should have an embarrassment of riches in fast bowling over the next 5-6 years. And actually, these set of fast bowlers have inspired this young lot to come up. And when they do get their chance, I'm sure they would also inspire the next lot of fast bowlers coming up.
And apart from the IPL, do we also would you also put the A tours as a yardstick, because that is helping them bowl a large number of overs in a day?
Yeah, it does. The A tours, the Ranji Trophy, the A tours, all this help in honing their skills. And these players are lucky that they have the international exposure, not only in the IPL, also in the A tours, which would help them prepare and be at their peak when they come on to play for the senior Indian team.
And what about spinners in the next generation?
Yes, I would say if you look at Chahal, if you look at Kuldeep, his career is going to begin right now. And there are a few good leg spinners coming up in the country. So if they can be nurtured well, you do have Ashwin who can continue for a little while. Then Jadeja is there, and with the young spinners coming up, I'm sure India will have enough spinners to go through all formats of the game.
Wonderful. You had mentioned that your spin was coaching spinners was one of your sort of things that you're really passionate about. So I cannot leave you without one question on a bowler that I'm absolutely fascinated with, who is Axar Patel. How is Axar Patel seems like such a phenomenon to me, because with that action, it's almost like he is able to hold a tea saucer in his hand and he's just like saucering it through and the ball is doing it. How would you describe his bowler and how does a batter even play him when the pitch is assisting, even giving a bit of assistance to spin?
It's because Axar, to me, is an outstanding bowler is because of his accuracy and the odd angle at which the ball comes in, and his ability to bowl a lot straighter balls when there is so much help in the pitch. When you see other bowlers the batsmen play for the spin, they play for the turn, but to be able to bowl straighter on turning tracks is a huge ability. And also the height at which he delivers the ball. He's got a high arm action. The angle at which he delivers makes him that much of a potent bowler, Axar Patel. And so they are all different. Jadeja is different. Jadeja is accurate. He's different. If you look at Ashwin, world-class bowler, one of the legends of spin bowling. So each one is different. They bring different aspects to the table. And also, if you look at the guys like Kuldeep Yadav, the next one in the making. If IPL form is anything to go by, he's announced that he's coming back strongly. So that augurs very, very well for India over the next few years.
And a bowler like Axar, do you see him having success all over the world, irrespective of the kind of surface that he's bowling on?
Well, I think he's got enough confidence, but he should learn to adapt to bowling on wickets that are not helpful in the longer format. So if he can do that, he's got all the ingredients to be successful. It's how far he puts that to use when given the opportunities is going to be the key.
Wonderful. This was fantastic, a great education for me about bowling, fast bowling, spin bowling. I will definitely learn more about spin bowling, and hopefully we can have a conversation at a later time. But thank you so much, Arun, for joining, and it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for me too. Good luck.
Thank you. I'm sure all our listeners would have learned that little bit more about bowling, and also about some of our fantastic bowlers that we have in the Indian team. And thanks to the guidance of doing well, thanks to the guidance of people like Arun and the other coaches that they've had. As usual, listeners of 81 All Out, you can subscribe to our podcast. Our website is 81allout.com. You can rate and review the podcast wherever you listen to it. It really helps more people to find it. And we will join you for another episode in the coming days.
India have won the series. They're going to get back for two. India home. Lords goes wide.